Good morning, Bob Rapp here. It's 3:21 a.m. on the 27th of April, and hopefully you had a great session last night. And as you think about this morning, I wanted to get into just an overview. We're going to start with Designer. Now remember, we went to a location called ml.azure.com, and that really took us to a place where we could do Python notebook or Jupyter, where we could do automated ML. We already saw a demo of that. Now we're going to get into the Designer, which I gotta say is one of the most fabulous things I've ever seen in the AI and ML business. So what I'm going to do is show more samples, and I'm going to look at a sample that is a pretty common example in a lot of different businesses, which is regression for automobile pricing. Now, what I'm actually showing you here, and by the way, you notice that I've got a little pink button here that says select the compute target. Now, hopefully, your compute target is that you turned it off when it wasn't being used. We could also, by the way, select the data store, and I actually am going to use the blob store here. And what I love about this particular Designer is that it allows someone who is not a coder, so maybe just a citizen data scientist, to start with information. They can really start at the beginning with any kind of data, and they can start to go through a process here. And if we look at the right-hand side, we see that we could add assets from a wizard or from the YAML file. So I'm going to go ahead and say maybe from a YAML file. So I could say from DevOps, from GitHub, or local files. Remember, we had that local file that we had a download here, as I recall. And we could open it up and register the models that we already had. So in this case, we're taking, let's just take a look at this. We're taking information from a CSV file, okay? And this is, let's go ahead and browse this. And this is our data set. I think this is our global data set here. And I've got information from the file store, from the blob store, and from global data set here. And what's happening here is that we've actually done a complete data science review. So we took the automobile data, we selected columns in the data set. So we said, here's our run settings. Okay. We said clean any missing data. And by the way, when you look at our sample data sets, so we have a lot of sample data sets from a lot of different sources here. We could add custom modules if you're used to doing that. We could say import data, which is probably the most common thing. We could enter the data manually, but that probably wouldn't make a lot of sense since we've done all of the work here. And when we go down here to data transformation, this is probably the most common place we spend a lot of time here. So in data transformation, we say add columns, add rows, do a SQL transform. Very commonly, we clean missing data. It's a very common thing we would do, or convert to CSV. We have a bunch of data types. And really what we've tried to do is do everything that a data scientist or a data engineer might do without having to know how to write that code. So, and particularly, if you look at this, this is an example where if you had an unbalanced data set, you could boost the values from one side of the data set. So we clean the data, we split the data. In this case, we're using boosted decision tree. Remember, in our previous demo, we said just automatically choose the algorithm. Well, in this case, we know we're doing regression, and boosted decision tree is a pretty common regression. And we're going to train the model, so we're going to split the data. And you notice that we split the data 70% for training and 30% for scoring. Then we say evaluate the model, and then we're going to say submit. And I'm going to create a new experiment, new demo, big network, 3 a.m. Okay. And submit that and to compute target. Oh, I thought I said no, so. And submit that. Now what's going on here is now we're going to go through a pipeline. And we're going to go ahead and publish that pipeline. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new one called So it says publish succeeded. Go to the pipeline right here. And we're actually watching this pipeline. So let's go, if we go back here to, if we're taking a look at our endpoints, our models, our pipelines, you'll notice that we have a pipeline here. And we have an endpoint. We have a couple of drafts that we've done previously. And if we take a look at this overview right now, we can actually see as this is running. So that's, again, just an overview. We'll obviously get into more detail, but I wanted you to see us taking a pre-built sample and saying, hey, let's run it. Because, you know, if you're not a data scientist, this would be, I think, very difficult to do without the wizard. Thanks a bunch.